Welcome back. You have just tuned in to Women's AM. This morning, I'm joined by Sister Nusrat, Sister Saima, and our special guest this morning is Sister Nasima Bibi. Sister Nasima, Jazakallah khair for joining us this morning and bringing your expertise to such a beautiful topic, mashallah. And I understand that your time is very precious because not only are you a mother of three, mashallah, but you're doing an alama course at the moment. So how do you manage, you know, all these kind of different pools on your time?
Well, alhamdulillah, you know, time is very, very short. But, you know, alhamdulillah, we manage. I've got 3 children, so I've got a 7-year-old son who's at school, and I've got 2 babies. I've got a 20-month-old, and I've got a 9-month-old as well.
Wow, mashallah.
So during this time as well, we're studying a part-time Alamiya course, and also we're studying Arabic with our Ustad in Egypt during the week as well. So, you know, I think you have to really juggle your time and manage your time and, you know, have a plan of what you need to do. Yeah, you do, especially with the children, because they're in there. Usually, you know, when you haven't got the kids, you can just put your whole focus into studying, whereas, you know, you have to put time into the children and also in studying as well. So you have to make sure you're managing your time.
Yeah,
very
absolutely.
well.
So how do you do it? Is it distance learning? Do you do it online?
We're doing it distance learning, so it's online.
Yeah.
The Alamiya, we're doing it with Sheikh Akram. So basically, we were logging online, and it's part-time, so it's live, and we're participating within the lesson. So even if we have questions and things, we can ask that.
That's interesting. And you say we, are you doing this with your husband?
Alhamdulillah. Me and my husband have been studying together since the beginning. So
wow, that's so lovely. I love that.
Our first trip, it started with our journey to Egypt, which is like a once-in-a-lifetime journey that we made with our son Hamza. We only had 1 child at the time. So since then, from the beginning, we've been studying together, alhamdulillah.
That's lovely. So you can encourage each other and help each other. I love that. That's really lovely. Jazakallah khair for sharing those. Without further ado, let's go straight to her views, where today we're discussing Surah Fatiha and pondering the lessons that we can learn from it. Surah Fatiha. It's a surah we recite every day. But how often do we ponder on the many lessons which can be learnt? Also known as the opener of the book, the surah begins every single one of our prayers and forms a part of our daily worship. So what can we learn from this surah, and how can we go about implementing these lessons into our daily lives? Of course, this is a live discussion, so please do call in and share your comments about this beautiful surah. The number to call will be on your screens now, or you can tweet us at Islam Channel, #WAM15. So, Sister Nasima, I'm going to come to you first. Surah Fatiha, as I've said, we recite it in every single salah, but how many of us really think about the context of this surah? Can you share a little bit of your knowledge on this, inshallah?
Surah Fatiha, as you mentioned, it's got many names. So one of the names is the Quran, which means the mother of the Quran, and one of them is Fatihatul Kitab, which means the opener of the book. And if we look, where has it been placed in the Quran? It's the first surah that appears when you open your Quran. So, you know, there's actually, you know, some reason for this to be there. So if we look, that it's actually the most comprehensive surah that is within the Quran, that it has, it gives you a summary of the whole Quran basically within this one surah. And also, if you look at it, it actually answers the questions that every single human being has. So where did I come from? Where am I going? And why am I here? So if you look at the first ayah, it actually answers your question about, you know, where did I come from? Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. I came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and all praises be to Him. Then if you look at the next ayah, it's Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Malik Yawmiddin. Where am I going? You're going back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Malik Yawmiddin. He is the owner of the Day of Judgment. So this is where you're going. You're going to go back to Him, and He will account you. And then if we go further on to that, it also answers, why are we here? So it says, Iyyaka na'budu. So you alone we worship. This means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that we worship. That is our purpose in life. That's what we've put been put here for. So these questions that every single human being has been answered within this surah.
Yeah.
So that's why you can see that this surah has been placed at the beginning of the Quran. That's why it's got these names like Quran and the Fatiha al-Kitab as well.
Yeah.
And even if we look at it further, Surah Fatiha, we have to recite it in every single ayah of our salah. Every single rak'ah of every single salah.
Yeah.
And when you think about the meanings of the surah, it becomes evident the reason why we're doing this. Even to the point that Prophet ﷺ said that our salah is not valid without reciting Surah Fatiha.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, subhanallah, so much, you know, these short surahs, these short ayahs, there's so much beauty and wisdom in them. Sister Nusrat, can you expand a little bit more upon that?
In terms of the surah, it begins with Allah's mercy. So when we read the Quran, particularly Surah Fatiha, we see that mercy is something, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim particularly. These are two attributes, when used in conjunction together, can only be used in reference to Allah, though the term Rahim can be used as an individual to refer to an individual. We see that the lessons that we can learn, however, from Allah's mercy within Surah Fatiha is that it's all-encompassing and it's indiscriminate. So we find that the surah itself has been sent as a mercy to people because in order to foster that yearning for certainty, we see that within the verses 1 to 3 particularly. So when, for example, when Allah sends down things like rain, we see that rain is a mercy that benefits everybody in mankind. And it's one of Allah's various manifestations of His kindness, of His love. Al-Ghazali, for example, has actually reiterated this when he talks about the mercy of Allah just being so vast. He says, all-inclusive mercy gives to both the worthy and unworthy. The mercy of God is perfect and all-inclusive. It is perfect in the sense that He not only wills the satisfaction of the needs of the needy, but actually satisfies them, this life and that which is to come, and encompasses the essentials, needs and advantages which go beyond them. Thus He is in truth the compassionate absolutely. So we see that Allah's rahmah is vast, but as much as that is the case, we find that the equilibrium of hope and fear is restored within this surah, because as much as Allah is Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, He's also the Master of Day of Judgment, Malik Yawmiddin. So we find that the wings of hope and fear are not only restored, but it gives us as the reader the sense of accountability that as much as Allah loves us, we have to be accountable for our actions. And through this, we also learn that in order to really actualize the surah, we need to implement this in our character. So mercy is implemented through treating humankind in a way that is just manner and inclines them to the way of God.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also a nice reminder, you know, you were mentioning a lot there about the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a nice reminder for us that, you know, there's so much to be learned in studying these names as well. And we can, you know, learn so much about Allah and ourselves and the deen by studying these beautiful names. But I think this understanding of mercy, you know, as Nusrat's explained, that we have in the, you know, the beginning of this surah, just the very beginning, there's so many lessons that we can derive just from that. Can you expand a little bit more on that, please, Sister Salma?
I think when I read Surah Fatiha, the first thing that comes to mind is that we're actually making dua to Allah. So we're actually asking Allah for some specific things. You're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for guidance. You're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep you on the correct guidance, to keep you on Sirat al-Mustaqim. And you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to not make you fall into the errors of previous nations where they've gone astray or tampered with the revelation for petty gain or something like this. You're asking Allah for a lot of things to do with knowing what you're supposed to do on this planet. So where have I come from? What am I supposed to do here now? And what's going to happen? What's the connection between all three of these stages? And the beautiful thing about this, the position of this surah in regards to the other surahs, is that you turn the page and you've got Surah Baqarah, where it starts with Alif Lam Mim, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala immediately answering your dua. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that Alif Lam Mim, this indeed is the book wherein there is no doubt. And this is the book for the people who want to do righteous deeds. So immediately your dua is answered. So now you know where you've come from, what you need to do here, and the link between this life, what you do here, and the next life, your death. It's funny, I was having a conversation with my son. He's getting a bit older now, all three of them, and they're becoming more aware of human mortality. So he said to me, so what, is that it? We just go in the ground and that's it? Yeah, it's finished. Life is over. And I said, SubhanAllah, no, Ibrahim, because look how amazing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the human. We are an amazing creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our intelligence, our genius, our ingenuity, everything is amazing. Do you think Allah would make that, chuck it in the ground for it to rot?
Yeah, exactly.
There's a purpose, and this is something that is innate in all humans to ask. But unfortunately, Liz, in this YOLO lifestyle that is being promoted, often people just dismiss it. You live for the moment. And second of all, in this YOLO lifestyle, you will just go sometimes and answer these questions, if you do bother to answer them, in a way that just pleases your desires. So you'll start thinking about reincarnation, you'll start thinking about a floating spirit. We have the beauty of Surah Fatiha is that it gives you the truth.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. Jazakallah khair, a really fantastic insight into, you know, the opening ayah of this beautiful verse. Jazakallah khair, sisters. We have shared some great reminders about this remarkable surah, but we do now have to go for a quick break. But don't go anywhere, as we'll be back in a few minutes to continue with this discussion. See you after this. Assalamu alaikum.